Okay, sorry.
You're good. We have started. Back to you.
Yeah, so nice to have you here, all guys. So today we will be talking about gaming. We have That's why I invited today Marin to be here. He knows a lot about gaming in Polkadot ecosystem, and yeah, maybe we can do at the beginning just like very short introduction. Each of you can tell us maybe like what gaming project are you working on, and maybe just a little bit about it.
Yes. Gaming and tokenomics, these two go similarly hand in hand, but there can be implications in multiple directions. Quite multidisciplinary conversation. All right, yeah, introductions. I can go quickly first. I am a Project Catalyst decentralized worker. I help review milestones and proof of achievements after projects have been funded. And I work IT for a biotech company, learning all sorts of good customer service techniques and rolling out different programs to groups of scientists in labs around the world. And yeah, and I am super interested in blockchain and its implication impacts on the world, and very excited to be here to do research on these two ecosystems, Cardano and Polkadot, and talk to builders, and then create some nice documentation that then can be used in the future or looked back on as small snapshots of today here, June 18, 2024.
My name is Kyle Solomon. I'm the CEO of Drip Drops. It's a token dispensing platform on Cardano, which drives a significant amount of transaction volume on the chain. I'm also deploying a game called Jet Chicken, which is absolutely dumb. But I've got a good amount of experience in creating models on the Cardano chain, if you will.
Can I just ask what is the game about?
Yeah, it's kind of like a player versus player NFT based game that takes an approach of not really requiring anybody to have ownership in the game to at least get involved.
Okay,
Like
nice.
a turn-based game.
All right, cool. So nice to meet you guys. I'm Marin. I'm a full stack developer, CTO of Xiaomai Games, and basically we build games on Polkadot for the last 3 years. So one of our main game is called The Great Escape, and it's an hyper-casual platformer to the old school style, a bit like Donkey Kong. And second one is called Pin Drop, which is a puzzle game and it's currently being deployed to mobile too. And basically, we try to use blockchain in a good way for gamers, which means ownership, immutability, renting. But I'm sure we will have time to talk about it today. And I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, maybe I also can just quickly introduce myself. So my name is Linda. I work in Polkadot ecosystem. I'm working now with Codadot, which is an NFT marketplace. We don't support gaming NFTs that much yet, but maybe hopefully in the future. And yeah, I'm very happy to have you here, guys. So yeah.
Yeah, so we can dive into our discussion today. We have there's a few of us. Oh, Sebastian is here. Sweet.
So
And we can maybe talk a little bit about the state of the union of gaming on on the different blockchains, um Cardano and Polkadot. And
maybe
we
sorry.
probably should catch up Sebastian, huh?
Yeah, maybe we can just tell him to introduce. Hello,
Welcome,
Sebastian.
welcome, sir. We started a little
Yeah.
bit. I can get you caught up real quick. Pretty much we've done some quick introductions, telling us everyone where we come from and what we do a little bit. And then we're about to dive into the conversation. But if you wouldn't mind, could you introduce yourself quickly to the group?
Yeah, I'm Sebastian, co-founder of multiple things. Most notably connected to this call is Pyma Studios, which is the authors of Pymention, which is a framework to create apps that span multiple chains. We've created many games using this engine in the past. You might have heard of Trochi, which is a game that is playable both from Cardano and Arbitrum. And so you have players from both chains playing together. You might have also heard of our previous game called Wrath of the Jungle, which is a tower defense game connecting Cardano, Polkadot, and Algorand. So we have players from those three chains playing tower defense games together on chain. So we've done quite a few of these collaborations. Our next game is featuring Mina Protocol, which is ZK layer. And so it's going to be connecting Mina, Cardano, and Arbitrum together.
Very cool. Thank you for that introduction, Sebastian. So yeah, diving at the topic of the day, can anyone give us a state of the union of gaming on their blockchain? Maybe we can start with Polkadot. Maren.
All right, so on Polkadot, let's say the things are moving quite in a good direction. Basically, if you're not familiar, we have the system, the parachain system currently going on Polkadot. So it means the game are not directly living on Polkadot, the layer 0, but rather on a parachain. So for example, you have gaming specialized chain such as Arjuna. You also have EVM compatible chains such as Moonbeam or Astar. And then a big one you might probably have heard of is coming to Polkadot, which is Mythical, bringing also their gaming base to Polkadot. So we have these few different chains. And so we have big actors such as Mythical and also indie game developer, rather type of game being deployed on the several parachains. I'm representing one of the studio, and also we start also to create some sort of bounty for game developer on Polkadot. Maybe we'll talk about funding later on. So
Yeah.
that's how it's going on.
Very nice. Anybody want to talk Cardano? Kyle, maybe? Sebastian? You're on mute, man.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the state of the chain in general. Activity is just down. Transaction volume is down. Sebastian, you could probably comment a little bit more about gaming activity specifically. But to my knowledge, it's still a struggle for product market fit, right? That we're seeing. So, I think that there's a lot of promising initiatives coming. You've got some guys that are trying to really, break the mold with what SIBA's doing with Pima, and cornucopias are actually, they've got a good initiative out that they're really trying to draw on a lot of users, but we're just in an interesting point in the market cycle, where actual transaction volume is dwindling.
Yeah, I can add to this. So, one of the main issues Cardano has is that it's not ideally set up for gaming. The transactions are pretty slow, the finality is really slow. These are all things that are fine for DeFi, but just, a really bad environment for gaming. That's why for us, for Pymention, we've always been focusing on trying to connect Cardano with other ecosystems because we need to pair it with something, otherwise it's just not going to work. And so I've been working on this whole Pyma engine framework to enable games that leverage these two concepts together. Tarochi's kind of our biggest game going in that direction. But the problem is that beyond just like the speed of Cardano, also the way smart contracts are set up are not correct for like the kind of game experiences we need to deliver. That's to say, like for Trochi, right now we have three main assets. We have the NFT collection, which boosts your in-game progress, enables you to get airdrops, this kind of stuff. We have Trochi Gold, which is like the token for the game, and then monsters that you can buy and trade. Now, the game is a roll-up, And the idea is that you play the game on the rollup and then you project assets to Cardano to trade it there. But that means that you need to be able to validate the rollup code on the Cardano side, which on Ethereum side, it's pretty easy to do with the accounting model. On Cardano, there's no good way to do it right now. So we've been working with the Icon team, which is the team that writes the smart contracts for smart contract platform for Cardano, to add more features to the programming language itself, as well as we are creating some dApps or like some smart contracts ourselves to try and facilitate basically like recreating the accounting model on Cardano to enable you to basically connect rollup state as an account on Cardano and kind of patch around the UTXO model. We've been working on this for quite a few months now, and there's probably quite a few months of work left on this at least. So I'd say like if we were to get this done, it'd probably end up maybe in like December or somewhere near the end of the year. But we have spent probably like a few $100,000 on this so far, so it's been a journey, but we're keeping at it.
Very nice. Yeah, so it's interesting. How maybe Kyle, you were talking about transaction volume on Cardano being low. What is that like? What, as far as for tokenomics of Cardano, what are some of the implications of maybe why it's like that, or in this market? Because it's across ecosystems we're seeing slowness, but particularly in Cardano. Do you have an answer for that? And then I'll switch over to Polkadot.
I mean, I think that, you know, people are just fatigued. There's a disparity of users, of different types of users in the space, right? You've got users that really just want to see number go up, and you know, patience is a thing. And so, and then you've got, you know, a core of users that are in it for the technology and the progress of humanity, if you will. And so I think there's a conflict there. And you know, but just from an all-time low, I don't think there's any one single event that is driving chain volume low. It's, you know, I'm not sure. Are you guys seeing similar trends in Polkadot? You know, I'm kind of isolated to what I'm looking at, but macroscopically, I live in the United States, or at least a territory of the United States, and this past year has been extremely challenging to raise funds. You know, the political landscape has not been kind to startups located at least where I am. You know, I don't want to put a blame out there on anything. You know, obviously at the end of the day, I'm responsible for that. But the landscape is not been appealing. Now, are we going to see a turnaround? You know, I'm hopeful. I think things are going to turn around. But at the end of the day, this is across all crypto landscapes, aside from, you know, the payment appeal of Bitcoin and, you know, secure payment layer. I don't think any application has found true product market fit, right? And so I think that's ultimately what's to blame. And then, you know, when you talk to investors or people, you know, it's like, oh, blockchain is no longer shiny. It's lost its luster. You know, maybe AI is taking the new lead as the new hot thing. So I just think there's just a lot of factors coming together.
Yeah, I must say that I agree with this. There are a lot of factors that we can consider. But yeah, in Polkadot, I think we have a benefit. Yeah, as Marin started that we have initiatives where like gaming projects can get, for example, funded, which can help. You know, like if there is a new project coming to ecosystem. I don't know if there are recent. Are you, Marin, included in the gaming bounty or?
I'm a curator there.
Okay, perfect. So maybe you will know better, like if there are, for example, some new projects still interested in gaming, or how is it going? Because I haven't seen like maybe bigger, like besides the Mythical that is now interested in Polkadot, and there will be actually now doing some. I heard the mobile game for Pudgy Penguins. So I'm very excited about that one because yeah, that collection is known, and I think it will bring maybe a little bit more attention to Polkadot and what is it capable of. But yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe you can tell us a bit more if there are at the moment some other like projects coming, or like how is it going, maybe, because I think like the funding is one of the key things that may be the issue for others, and I think in Polkadot we have a benefit of just having the initiatives for that. So
Yep, let's say on Polkadot, you have several ways to get funds for building games and using the protocol and building on top of it. So we have a game bounty with $100,000 ready to be given to builders who like to use the Polkadot tech. Also, each parachain has foundation, such as the Moonbeam one, and you also have grants program that I would say pretty generous for game builders. And also we have the Open Treasury, so you can directly go to the OpenGov module and ask for funds for your game, which I think is also interesting because it's permissionless, and so it's basically asking the community, do you believe I will build that and meet all these criteria? Sometimes it's a bit hard to fix such criteria for games. Is it fun to play, etc. But still, it's working. So yep, I think that's a good thing we have on Polkadot. But on the other side, I would agree on the low level of transaction volume. And also, it's a bit like we have ultra users. Like there is nothing much to do with the tokens. The price is down, sentiment is a bit down, and so there's such what can I do with my token? And gaming can be one of the answer. But on the downside also of Polkadot, the fact that we have all those parachains make that often we don't use the dot currency in the game. We prefer to use maybe the parachain token or our own token, which create maybe also some negative price action for dot, but it will evolve in the future, I believe too.
yeah. Or maybe is it also that we are using like the currencies, it can be also like a barrier for the other users because even if they know, for example, Polkadot and they are interested in some gaming, maybe it's for them, like just the extra step of having different coin may be an issue. But yeah, this is just like
Coins and wallet. I'd like to hear also the Cardano side on the wallet. I'm not super familiar, but on Polkadot, no, I would say we have two good wallets that can, maybe three, that can handle games. On Cardano, I don't know if it's
which ones are you mean the ones that can handle Nova, Talisman, and
yeah, at least Nova and Talisman, and a sub wallet too, maybe.
yeah,
That can,
Sabla is also pretty good. I was trying it recently, and there were some better improvements.
because they have EVM and substrate, so they bring both worlds together, which for a long time was pretty difficult for game developer also to handle.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So for us, for our games, we have mobile games as well. So as a game studio, we've built multiple games so far. For mobile, the issue we have is that people basically need Wallet Connect to be able to play. And so fortunately, MetaMask supports this well. But MetaMask is basically the only wallet that supports this well. Every other EVM wallet is basically unusable. And other ecosystem wallets are also kind of hopeless. There is Wallet Connect support for Cardano, but there's no like canonical Cardano mobile wallet that supports it. And so we've had to disable Cardano mobile because it's just the majority of the Cardano users that attempt to play, they just don't have a wallet that supports Wallet Connect to try it out. So for Cardano, we're mostly desktop only. So this is the main problem. It's not so much that there are no wallets, it's just that being able to connect the wallet correctly for mobile is a bit harder. But from desktop, it's no issue. Polkadot is very easy to integrate into our games. Cardano is also pretty easy to integrate into our games. Cardano does have one additional challenge with connecting games, which is that for our games, it's one address per user. And Cardano does not work that way for old wallets. Old wallets had multiple accounts per user. And so we have quite a lot of cases where a Cardano user starts playing our game through an old wallet, and then they end up complaining like, hey, part of my assets disappeared from my wallet. What happened? What's going on? And we have to tell them, oh, it's because your wallet has multiple addresses, and sometimes your assets shift between addresses, and the game can't track that. So there's also like a additional complexity with the Cardano wallet because of the UTXO model.
Yeah. Let's shift over to pain points. Those were that was one good one. Well, need for I think Linda, maybe we need to do a space on wallets in general. Talk to because that's what I was thinking of late last night. That's one topic we haven't had in this series.
And
Just
it was
wallets
mentioned
alone.
a lot of
Yeah.
times. We get okay. That's another bad idea. Um,
But yeah, the need for wallet connect on mobile and just a better wallet experience for for more dApps and products in ecosystems. It does seem like wallets, which are the browser of a blockchain, are definitely behind. Um,
Yeah, and I guess like for Polkadot, I've tried many of the wallets. Talisman is the one that, in my experience, works best. But going from like Dot to Astar or Dot to Moonbeam is, as you might know, kind of a miserable experience. So trying to like onboard people with Dots and then get them to convert to another one of these chains to continue playing the game, it's basically hopeless. Like you're better off just telling people to go directly to Moonbeam or Astar, because otherwise, there's basically no way they're gonna figure it out unless they're like a crypto expert and they have a friend to help them with like the bridging costs and everything. So I think like one of the points that was mentioned is like how do you get the games to integrate Dot? I think like one of the main issues is the bridge ecosystem in Polkadot, where you need to have funds on the other side ahead of time to bridge. So if you have DOT and you want to go to Astar, like you can't just go the other side. You need to have Astar tokens first to pay for the bridge fees to convert your DOT over. Um, and so I think this is
yeah, I
like a
think
tooling
this is a
problem.
good point. Yeah. I think in Polkadot, like the XCM transaction and these things can be pain points not only in gaming but like even for normal users. I work with the NFT marketplace and we also have NFTs on Asset Hub and have NFTs on Asset Hub Polkadot, Asset Hub Kusama, and like the it's very hard to explain even for people coming from outside like what is it, why they need to do that with their funds sometimes. So I would really like to see some, well, I don't know if there are at the moment some technical implementations to make this process a bit more smooth or simpler, but yeah, like yeah, we in Codadot, for example, came up with the feature that is called like auto teleport, which whenever you, for example, wanted to buy something on, for example, Asset Hub Polkadot, you need to like move the funds, teleport the funds first, and it's doing like if you buy and if you only have a dot in your wallet, then it teleports it. But yeah, this solves only in case of dot, not between the transaction, so it does like two steps in one, and without you needing to do it like manually. So this is a nice thingy. So like features like this I believe can help with this in the future. I don't know how is it in
Yeah,
gaming or
yeah,
yeah, but
and when we looked into this, we looked into trying to remove a step to help simplify it. Because basically, if you're going to use Godot, like the background is usually you start with Dot and then you go to XCM to like Astar, for example, but then you're on the WASM side and you bridge a second time to go to the EVM side. So there's like two steps, which is confusing if you're not from the Polkadot system, you don't know why it's set this way.
mhm.
We looked into trying to remove one of these steps by integrating Ink as a contract platform, so you can do like WASM smart contracts directly. But the problem we found is that finding Ink developers to build out this functionality seems to basically be impossible. Everybody tells me there's Ink developers somewhere, but every company I've reached out to, Moonbeam, Astar, Polkadot itself, nobody knows where we can find an Ink developer to build this kind of stuff. So we've had stuff we've had on the backlog to build with Ink, where we've just been unable to find somebody who knows that platform well.
Yeah.
all right.
When it comes to cross-chain, I have a different opinion about Polkadot because I'm on the Moonbeam parachain. We try to implement GMP as much as we can. So it means basically we try to connect more to other ecosystem outside of Polkadot using, let's say, classic EVM bridges, so Wormhole, Accelor, Layer 0. And in our game, for instance, a concrete use case, you can go from Matic on Polygon and just deposit native token through Moonbeam, then DEX transaction, a swap, and at the end, deposit that game token into the game. So basically, in one click on Matic, you end up with token deposited into the smart contract on Moonbeam. And so for an end user perspective, as you say, the idea is to remove as many steps as we can and as much friction as we can too. Also.
That sounds good. One clicks is seems like it's impossible if it's like 5 clicks, maybe 4 clicks. And then if it's 2 clicks, maybe we can teach people to do it, maybe 3.
Yeah, because we're kind of on the opposite side where we're trying to encourage people not to have to bridge as much as possible. The reason why is because in my experience for DeFi, people are usually willing to take a calculated risk. If they need to bridge for Moonbeam, but they see there's a good APY for some Moonbeam protocol, they can say, okay, well, I'm risking my assets, but if I take calculated risk, then it might work out. For games, it's a bit harder because the monetization of the game is less clear, given the nature of the use case. And so people are more hesitant to want to bridge over. So, that's why when we created our framework for creating games, we built it by like aggregating chains together. So for example, for a game Trochi, your NFT stays on Cardano and your Arbiter NFT stays on Arbitrum. You don't have to like bridge it all to one unified chain to be able to play the game. And so the roll up is kind of like abstracts the chain away for you behind the scenes. So that's what we've been trying to do, which is why we've had, like, for example, our tower defense game, we had a tournament with, Cardano and Polkadot users playing together, and they didn't have to like bridge over to a different chain to start playing the tournament. We handle all that stuff on the roll-up side. So that's the kind of stuff we've been trying to focus on. Polkadot is a bit difficult to do this with because of the fact that every parachain is pretty different. And we don't want to launch our own parachain. We don't want to launch our own chain in general. So we're trying to instead work with existing chains. And so the easiest to work with would be, the general purpose ones like Moonbeam and Astar. And so we talked to those teams in the past. But trying to, connect these chains together without requiring bridging, I think is like more of a key feature for game adoption.
Oh,
Any
that's true.
any other pain points specifically to gaming or tokenomics, maybe the setup of tokenomics of the L1 or some more novel tokenomic that you've seen that creates a pain point? Don't really want to shift to use cases just yet, but looking for pain points.
I mean, the reality is that anything that you have to make the user do that's somewhat intimidating before they can experience the product is going to be a pain point for the user significantly. And so most of the products I'm working on now are focused on that, and they leverage incentives to overcome that, if you will, where it's necessary. So without getting into use cases.
Right. Yeah. So the user onboarding in general, it just has to be super simple, and in the complex environment of anything you could build, trying to connect multiple chains or just leveraging some of the more novel capability of any one in particular. Onboarding has always been an issue. Onboarding is an issue for starting new teams and being able to bring new people on. How do we form a group? and say and then catch them up to speed, be able to replace ourselves in the future. I think that these this
Yeah, what do you
go ahead.
sorry, you can continue.
Onboarding to we're create the games or these protocols connect people together. So we're trying to make it simpler to move value while connecting people, and that is it's definitely a difficult thing to make simple when the wallets and the UIs of most of this stuff is it doesn't have to be scary, but it is scary when you know that there's a whole cohort of people trying to rob you. Um, so that's a pain point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from the tokenomics side, I think one of the most difficult things is getting the initial traction for your project. Nowadays doing a token sale is pretty hard. For gaming, it's much easier to get away with it legally than DeFi, but it's still, kind of tricky. A lot of games end up solving this by resorting to VCs, but then you end up with a token who's primarily owned by VCs, not beyond gamers, and that historically has almost never turned out well. And people have caught on to this. And so people, if they see a high FTV at launch, people tend to just stay away. And so what a lot of people are trying to do to lower VC is to at least spread to some KOLs as like angel checks. But this causes like a huge pressure on KOLs in the sense that KOLs are just individuals. They don't have an infinite amount of money. There's only so many deals they can take. And so for a lot of KOLs, I feel they're kind of on board, like overloaded with deals. And so a lot of KOLs like make public tweets and like, hey, like we have too many deals to take. Like I'm not, like here to invest in every single project.
Mhm.
So getting any access to retail is pretty hard. Some people try and solve this through free mints. Either free mint distributed on their website or something through OpenSea. But as you probably know, OpenSea is not only really bad as a platform, obviously they take a huge cut of the fees and they cannot really be tailored to your custom game experience. So if OpenSea had better support and some kind of launch pad, like they could have been pretty good at gaming. Right now, I feel like there's no kind of good way to get around it. If your team that is able to figure out how this kind of stuff works, and build your own kind of launch pad, I think there's been a lot of good successes through that, but it kind of increases the barrier because it means the team needs to not only know how to build a game, but also needs to know how to build their own launch pad. The reason why I think building your own launch pad is pretty important at the moment is because if you look at the other gaming launch pads out there, Cetify, Spartan, and there's like 5 or 10 of them that have some amount of traction. The size of these launch pads are pretty small. A lot of these do like launch pads for like 100K, 50K, 200K, something in that range. Um, and so if you want to build any kind of non-trivial project, like you're trying to raise like, $1 million for a game, which is not that much money nowadays. Like 5 people for a year if you're based in the US. Um, it's pretty hard. You're gonna have to launch on multiple launch pads to get this to work. And if you don't know how these launch pads work, it's not like people just trade ETH and buy your token. It's not that straightforward. The launch pads are locked ahead of time. And to be able to buy tokens on the launch pad, you have to stake ahead of time. The reason this is not great is because it makes it hard for your launch pad to go viral. Right? If you look at viral projects, the way it works is that they launch their token sale and then partway through their token sale, they get shared by a large KO influencer, right? And then their project just takes off and they sell out in a few minutes. That's like usually what happens. But for launch pads that are not controlled by you, that can't happen because the people who can participate in the launch pad are frozen ahead of time. And it's only people who like staked the CDFI token or stake the whatever other token. So it hurts the virality of your project, and hurts your reach because now you can only reach out to projects, there's our users that are part of these like launch pads and active in those communities. It's hard to reach out the general crypto ecosystem. It's not to say these launch pads are bad. They are empirically very good at selling out and protecting retail investors by having these launchpad platforms do the due diligence. So there's a reason launch pads are a successful business model and a lot of people use them. But I think right now, very few teams have the opportunity to do a kind of fair launch given the market conditions. And so trying to save your tokenomics around that is pretty hard.
Yeah, you mentioned some legal implications of that in different jurisdictions. Maybe one of you could share some insights there.
Yeah, so basically, if you're building a game, nobody cares. If you're building a game where the assets are freely tradable, suddenly the governments do care. The reason why companies like World of Warcraft crack down on gold tradings, the reason why companies like RuneScape, I mean that's not the name, but the projects like RuneScape try and crack down on real world trading is because if your assets trade on the real world market, um, the governments tend to want to put a lot more restrictions on this. Um, you can get around it. For example, on Steam, they have a marketplace, but as you might have noticed, the marketplace has a sales tax on every transaction you make. If you go over a certain amount of value, they report your earnings to the IRS on your behalf. So it's a very regulated marketplace precisely for this reason. Um, and so it makes it a bit hard to release like a game because you obviously want to lean into the Web3 narrative, which is free tradability of assets. But you have to be careful how you lead into it without introducing legal risk to your company. It's part of the reason why, as you might have seen, like fully launching games is kind of a growing narrative as well. Because if the game is fully on chain, there's no company providing this kind of redemption service to convert points to on-chain tokens, then the legal risk is minimized quite significantly. And so there's a lot of projects trying to focus more on like building fully on-chain games because of that. But as you can also imagine, building fully on-chain games is more difficult, harder UX. And so the winner is still projects like Pixels, where there's a company that kind of facilitates converting the off-chain points into on-chain tokens. Um, but having this kind of redemption service limits your kind of options for tokenization and value utility of your game.
That's actually a very good point. I was not very aware of it before.
Yeah, I figured there was a decent amount of complexity there that yeah, I've seen some of the movements of other teams, ecosystem trying to deal with legal frameworks for not even trying to launch a token. But yeah, that's good. All right. Well, anybody else have a pain point that they want to throw in here before we shift to some use cases?
Maybe let's move to some use cases.
Yeah. All right. So, use cases. What can we is there's obviously you guys are all builders building your own stuff. These are business opportunities for you. But as we think about product market fit we're all trying to solve a very similar issue potentially when it comes to, we need to have few clicks in terms of being able to onboard people, few clicks to move assets. So what are some use cases that you see that helps reduce some of the friction in these areas? It's probably a hard one.
I mean, I can maybe describe my approach with Jet Chicken, and that'll kind of, it's a lot of use cases intertwined. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want to, the biggest barrier I think to onboarding is showing somebody a mnemonic. When someone has to set up a wallet, it freaks them out, right? And if you guys have talked to family or friends, like that it's a big problem. And so one of the first principles is I wanted anybody to be able to play this game. But then, you have to, it started with an NFT, right? It's an NFT card pack. You've got NFTs and then there were 10 FTs in each pack. So two NFTs and 10 FTs, right? And, that's a closed policy. We had the policy open for a year and we did some fun stuff with being able to, generate new NFTs while the policy was open. But the game was always designed, particularly from a rarity combination, to have millions and millions of different combinations to support large audiences. And so it warranted a season two of the game. And so basically it's just a replica of the first NFT, but it's going to be an open policy, if you will. And these chickens, the NFTs in the original packs, they were level sixes or level sevens, right? And in the new series, they're all going to come out really crappy. They're going to be like level ones or twos. And obviously, the point of that is the tokens that are rewarded in game, you got to have a sync for that. They're going to be used to actually upgrade the NFTs. That's because there's three tokens awarded in the game, and they're all open policy tokens that were never sold. And so that's, to mitigate risk on the back end. The scratch is used to actually upgrade the NFT chicken. So you receive that for playing the game. The space coins are going to be used to actually buy the packs of NFTs. So we're actually going to sell the new packs in the majority of a native asset that you're actually rewarded within the game. Maybe with one or two ADA, right? So there's a little bit of profit because native assets have to move with ADA. But since the policies are open, we're able to do a multi-sig burn of the assets right within the wallet. So there's not really any taxable event that happens there, at least on the native assets. So that kind of alleviates the business opportunity. But where I think we got really clever with it is that we've got a connect wallet or play as a guest. If you choose to play as a guest, you're only entitled, or you can connect your wallet, but you can create decks with your cards, right? So me as an owner of these assets, I can create various decks, whatever those look like. Anybody can come and play with my deck, whether they're a guest or some other wallet connected. And if you're playing with somebody else's deck, you're only going to get 30% of the rewards. Whereas on the other side, you see what I'm saying? Whereas on the other side, you'll get 70% just if you own the deck. So that creates an incentive for ownership, right? But it's also an incentive for someone who doesn't have a wallet. They're like, oh man, I'm getting rewards that I'm not able to claim because I'm not onboarded yet. So if you go back to just sales and investment, if that's what free trials are about, people don't want to invest, whether it's their time, their knowledge to onboard, their money, until they can actually see a tangible benefit. So we're in testing right now. It's a massively gnarly game, and resources are not where they need to be to build it out. So, I've had a developer that we've been working with out of Nigeria who's just a trooper, but we're going through it, and it's just going to be interesting, but it's an experiment, right? And so that's kind of our approach there.
It's good.
Well, that's actually a very good point, yeah. To just give the teaser to people to try it, the game, maybe find the feeling and then give them a reason, like to really get on board it.
Multiple layers of the dojo.
It's funny because I'm from a different ecosystem, but this particularly resonates with the way we're doing these things. We try to put the wallet in the back end, and we're currently allowing player to link if they want, if they have rewards to claim, to link a real Web3 wallet to the one we created maybe months ago for them. And the incentive part is the tricky one, I'd say, how to balance the fun and the expectation from the gain. I mean, where do you put the barrier? Is it a fun game that player could play even without rewards, or is it DeFi hidden other Web3 games? That's also one point regarding tokenomics that it's not easy to figure out, I would say.
And where do you think it's the balance between these 2 points?
When I started a few years ago, I would have said fun is all that matters. And no, I would say no, you have to carefully consider where the liquidity gonna be. Is it a single token system? Is it a dual token system? What's the utility behind it? And also, what's the legal impact that this decision would have on the overall project?
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so from our side as well, for Trochi, the way we set it up is that when you start playing the game, we create an EVM wallet for you on the website. And then later on, you can connect that local wallet to your MetaMask. So we built our own like delegation systems. You can delegate EVM wallets to each other. We also use this for Cardano support as well. Like if you're a Cardano user, it still creates an EVM wallet for you, and then you delegate from your Cardano wallet to the EVM one. So from the actual game perspective, we don't have to treat uh, everything as like is if Cardano this, if EVM that. It's all just EVM wallets, and then you can check if this EVM wallet belongs to an underlying Cardano wallet or not, which is what we settle on the Cardano smart contract side. We are trying to extend this right now for ZK as well. So there's a ZK platform called Mina Protocol. You might have heard of it. It's like a ZK blockchain, and I'm really bullish on ZK for gaming to handle a lot of the scalability workloads. But obviously, to be very efficient ZK, they don't use EVM addresses or Cardano addresses. It's a whole different cryptographic scheme. So we're trying to work on a delegation system where you can create a local Mina wallet and then delegate to that from an EVM wallet or a Cardano wallet. And then when you play the game, we kind of cover all the transaction fees for you. And then from the smart contract, whenever you want to claim your rewards after you've delegated, you can pay the transactions to like claim your stuff then. So the reason we set it this way is because we didn't want us to custody the user funds, because there's a legal implication for this. So by creating a local key pair for them, they still custody the funds, and then they can just delegate that local wallet to their main wallet later. The downside is, of course, some people clear their browser history or break their phone or whatever, and if they never delegated, they lose everything. But it's a risk we're willing to take. So I'd rather some users get upset they lose everything than us having to custody user assets, which is never great in crypto.
Yeah. Yeah. The delegation of, well, you just have your own wallet and then other things connect to that and keep the custody in the user's hands. Yeah, this as far as wallets and self-custody of it goes, it does seem like we need some solutions to deal with the mnemonics maybe, or something on the on the on that side of the equation. I know for myself as someone who works in a in in corporate space, we use password managers for that, and I teach people how to use a password manager regularly. And it's not something that even smart people like really want to do or get there. Like it's still not a high priority, nor is it something that's completely intuitive. But managing a password manager is, like, I would say, probably the only way on the internet to maintain a high level of security across Web 2 credentials, unless you're just some type of brainiac with the passwords and be able to remember lots of different ones for for the bajillion different credentials you'll have to save across all the different sites now, like Google single sign-on and some of these pass keys, starting to make that maybe a little bit easier. But this is all abstractions away from of security, of owning your own your own keys and holding them and keeping them safe in your own, well, whether it's your head or in some safe somewhere. Man, all right. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and related to this, I'm pretty bearish on the current like connect by email systems that are out there in crypto. So as you might have seen, companies like Coinbase and a lot of other companies like Third Web have these SDKs where you can create a crypto wallet from your email. And if you don't know, the way those work internally is that it creates a private key and shards it into three parts. And you need two of the three parts to regenerate the key. So it's a secret sharing scheme.
Hmm.
And so out of these three parts, one is stored in your email, one is stored on your local browser, and one is stored by the company. So it means the company cannot reconstruct your private key because they only own one of three parts. But as long as you can log into your email, you can recover because you have the company's part and then your part, which is in your email. But if the company goes down for some reason, you can still reconstruct it because you have the one in your local browser and your email. So it seems like it solves the problem because no matter what happens, the company can't steal your funds, and in the majority of the cases, you should be able to restore your wallet. The problem you run into is that the key generated ends up being DApp specific because when the part goes to the companies. So if you go, for example, to OpenSea and log in with your wallet, and then you go to the game and log in with your wallet, unless you and OpenSea are using the same company as the provider, you'll get a different wallet. And so this helps for onboarding kind of because now they can log in with their wallet. But once they go to OpenSea to sell their assets, now they can't actually sell their game assets. They go to a different DEX to sell their assets. They can't create their wallet. And so it just creates this like weird per provider fragmentation. And right now there's like, 10, 20, 30 different companies that provide this email login service. So the chance that you and another tap just happen to use the same service is pretty low. So usually it's, basically hopeless for like cross-app compatibility. So it only really works if your DApp is kind of all in one included package where you have not just the game, but the marketplace and everything else all embedded into your DApp. This is kind of like a higher barrier to entry for like development. And I feel like it's not the ideal way forward. There's other ways to do account abstraction that might work better to solve this problem, but as you might know, the main barrier to account abstraction right now is the fact that the EVM kind of sucks, which has always been the bottleneck for crypto innovation on almost everything. Um, so, they're trying to make some changes to Ethereum and some new EIPs for account abstraction. Um, but I think it'll be quite some time before any of these particularly work out, which is why for our stack, we instead built all our account abstraction stuff on the rollup side because it means we're not limited by the EVM, and we have a different VM where we can have more flexibility on how the account abstraction works. It's also why other projects that are not EVM based, like Starknet, have quite a richer account abstraction system than you got in Ethereum. Because once you get out of the EVM, you can kind of escape the nonsense and build something that's a bit more reasonable. But obviously, EVM has by far the largest user count, and so that'll always kind of be the bottleneck.
So do you think there is do you think there's an opportunity? Well, okay, so I've seen this project called the DREC Alliance, which is trying to make a password manager more specific well, it's pretty much a password manager that has this ability to shard out keys where instead of this trifecta you're talking about between browser, email, um, and whatever company you're set up the wallet with, instead of it being you have another wallet that you shard out with your friend, you shard out parts of the secret to your friends or your family, and then you set the threshold, and that 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 little computer talks to your friends every day and make sure they're still active so they can share that back if you need it. And but then you have a password manager that can hold mnemonics and you is recoverable in a peer-to-peer way. And then maybe yeah, you could do some you might have this might be a like a third party type tool that could handle some handoff between maybe different apps or your browser and an email or something like that. It could be a different type of setup of relationships. I don't know if
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yes, this kind of social recovery has been something a lot of people have been aiming to build for quite a long time.
Okay.
There's been a lot of startups built for this kind of social recovery over time, as you might know some of these startups. It's hard for them to monetize. I mean, even the email login systems that I mentioned, they're hard to monetize because how do you monetize this? The best you can do is like, oh, the game pays, a certain rate per 100 users that sign up using the social login. But now there's so many startups trying to do this that the price point is basically zero, and so it's hard for any one of these companies to monetize. Um, Social login kind of takes a step further because now there's not even a game there to pay, so you have to convince the user to pay to do like social login, which is also difficult. Some people try it and have some success, but in my experience, a lot of people end up losing money with this because they assume their friends are going to store the secret phrase or secret key, and then 2 years later they go check it out, and then everybody's lost their part. And this happens pretty often. In fact, even Vitalik wrote a post talking about how he used to be bullish on this kind of system, and then he set up his own social recovery system, and then he asked his friends, and everybody lost their part, and they lost like all the ETH in that wallet. So even technical people,
Yeah.
this happens, and so it's hard to trust your friends to keep some random secret key just for you to get your money back because they have no real incentive to care, and people just lose stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely a pain point that it was brought up in by this T-Rec Alliance. They talked about that tool being able to, if your friend's client that they run on their machine goes inactive for a certain amount of time, then it'll pull that secret back from them, and then you tell and notify you, and then you can share it out again, and it'll kind of change those thresholds for those secrets that you hold in the wallet, which that that's a real problem with your friends forgetting it, but maybe there's a workaround for that. And I'm fairly new to crypto in 2020 is pretty much, and so it's interesting to hear that it's definitely something that's been talked about for a long time, and it's a little disappointing also because password managers, it's like it's a beefed up password manager with more features, but still hardly anybody wants to use a password manager, and so trying to make it easier while having another ask anyway. Well, folks, thank you for coming today. This was a great foray into gaming and tokenomics on Cardano and Polkadot. We'll definitely be able to extract some good pain points and use cases from this conversation. Yeah, thank you for being here. Anybody have any last words or would like to?
Yeah, I would also like to thank you guys. It was very interesting. I got some very nice notes here, and yeah, we will be after this processing it maybe into some article, but we will be putting together a report with Peter, like after all our workshops, we put together some report with the ideas what happened, and yeah, that will be then later also somewhere published, so you will be able to check it back. If you want, we can let you know after that. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. It was very lovely, and yeah, thank you for all the ideas.
Yes,
Thanks
yes.
for sending a message on my Discord to get me on board. And by the way, this is what I look like. I didn't turn my camera, but this is me. If you ever see me around.
Good to see you, Seva.
Nice. And yeah, maybe if you can, guys, maybe just quickly drop your Twitters in the chat here, so I can maybe just connect with you on Twitter and just be able to follow how your projects are going, or if there will be anything interesting for the future for me. That would be also nice.
Yep. And yeah, we will post on this link. We'll update, and we'll have a good all the documentation will update over the coming over a week or so. You might take tops a week to get this turned around. And then yeah, I do look you up on the internet and put a little bio down. If you don't like that bio, let me know. I can update it. But I scrape it off of, whatever, LinkedIn or Twitter usually. All right. Thank you for being here. It's been real. Peace.
Thank you. Bye bye.